And then we see that before Jesus even approached her, he knew her story because he's God. So he knew the depths of her heart. He knew what was going on. He knew about all of her husbands, and he knew about the guy she was sleeping with who wasn't her husband. And yet there was no shame. There was no condemnation. There was no judgment. There was truth, right? There was truth. He knew the truth about her life, and he spoke it out. So he was aware of it, and he said, hey, I'm going to acknowledge your sin. I'm going to tell you to your face, this is not, hey, you have 5 husbands and the guy you're with now isn't your husband, so I'm not going to pretend like that doesn't exist, but I'm not going to shame you or make you feel condemned because of what you're going through. And what we see from that interaction of hope and of love and of grace is that she ran back into the town to the people she was avoiding, right? Because she didn't want to she ran to the people that she was hiding from and made disciples. And that one little interaction and that one encounter with Jesus led to a transformation of an entire town. And it started with a broken woman, right? Who was living in sin in the moment Jesus approached her. She wasn't out of it. She wasn't restored. She was literally in sin when Jesus told her about the living water that he had for her and the gift that God had for her. And so when I hear that story, I think of the women on the street, and sometimes we want to fix them. We want to make them better. Sometimes we're like, how could you keep going back there? We rescued you once. How are you already back in the life? Or why don't you want to come off the street? What's wrong with you? Stop sleeping with that guy. Stop selling your body. Stop doing drugs. And we get angry, and there's this judgment that we have. And it's like, what's taking you so long? Can't you just, why aren't you understanding this? It's right in front of your face. But Jesus doesn't approach sin that way. And he doesn't approach us that way. And so that's one story. And the other story is the woman caught in adultery. And that's also John 8, very common story. And in this story, it's that same kind of thing. She's caught in sin, you guys, like red-handed, pulled out of the bed and onto the street in front of everybody. Jesus, what are you going to do about this? By the way, where's the guy? I don't know, but that's another topic. But she's brought out into the open, ashamed, feeling horrible. Yeah. Yeah, there you go. So they knew this woman. I love it, Corinne. I love it. And so she's left there, guilty, right? Completely red-handed. She can't say, oh, but no, what are you talking about? She knows what she did, and she was caught. And yet when Jesus approached her, there was love, there was grace, there was mercy, there was understanding, there was compassion. And so he says to her, again, he acknowledges her sin. And this is what I love about Jesus. He's not some oh, it's okay, just do your thing. I love you no matter what. It's all good. He's like, no, stop that. What you're doing, stop it. But I don't condemn you, so just go and sin no more. So he acknowledged the sin, but he didn't condemn her in the sin. Does that make sense, you guys? So when we work with these women and these guys, I'm telling you right now, and Corinne can agree with me, and the girls from Strasbourg, they can agree with me. These girls know, and these boys know, that what they're doing is wrong. And they know that the situation they're in is bad. They already know. And if any of us who have struggled with sin, I don't know about you, have any of you guys struggled with sin before? Okay, just me? Am I the only one? Really, God? Thank you. Okay, that's better. So when I struggle with sin, I know that what I'm doing, let's be honest. We know, when I lie, I know I'm lying. And I know that it's wrong. And I feel it in me. I don't need someone to be like, you're lying. Stop lying. I know, and don't make me feel worse. I already know what I'm doing is wrong. I know I'm struggling with this. I know this is bad. I know I need to stop. All these victims, all these survivors, they know, and they feel it, and it brings so much shame. And something that I want to say now is that we talk about shame and guilt a lot, and we talk about it a lot in this ministry. And there's a difference between the two, and it's very, very important. When it comes to guilt is about what we do. So it's about our behavior. It's about, I lied and I know it was wrong, so I feel guilty about lying. So that's about the action, right? Shame is about who I am. So it's not about what I've done. It's about, this defines me. I'm a horrible person because of what I've done. So it's about my worth and my identity and my value, where guilt is about the act and the behavior. So it's two different things. So guilt can be godly. And God can use it to convict us, to change our hearts, to kind of help us with that repentance, that step of, I need to stop this because it's making me feel guilty. So boom, life change. But shame is not from God. And that is all over Scripture. That is all over Scripture, that we are not going to be put to shame, that he forgives us and frees us from our shame, that we are redeemed from shame. Shame is not of God. And so that is something that as we walk with these girls and these boys that have been victimized, that is something that is going to be the deepest struggle that they deal with. It's going to be the deepest struggle that they face, and that is something that is so hard to uproot, and it doesn't happen right away. So this ties into, have you guys heard of like the hero complex? So it's like that idea where it's like, okay, I'm going to swoop in, save you, and then goodbye. And then you leave, right? And they're left there like, thank you, Superman. Now what? You know, and so we have this, sometimes as Christians in ministry, we have this hero complex of, okay, I'm gonna go on the street, I'm gonna share the gospel with this girl, and boom, she's gonna get saved, and then I'm gonna go home and make dinner. And then she's left there. Maybe she accepted Christ, but she's left there. And there's no discipleship, and there's no fellowship, and there's no relationship. And when we look at Jesus, Jesus built his entire ministry on relationship. It was about the process. It wasn't about that quick, boom, life change. Yes, physically, there was healing that was boom, quick life change. But spiritually and emotionally, I mean, when we read about Peter around the crucifixion, he had already been walking with Jesus for how many years? 3? And he was still like, guys, he messed up big time. So he was not where he was where he was supposed to be, but he was not perfect. And so even there, it's like, it's a process. Jesus is walking us through this process. So when we're ministering and when we're volunteering and we're getting involved in this, the first thing we need to do is look at ourselves and say, okay, how am I doing with my walk with Jesus? Am I able to receive forgiveness from him? Do I have grace for myself? Because if we can't first, there's a scripture in Corinthians, I'm gonna read it to you guys, that talks about how before we wanna go and start healing and comforting and rescuing other people, we need to first receive the comfort from God in our own affliction to be able to comfort others in their affliction. So you guys know that verse? I'm not gonna look at that one. So it's all about how first I need to be able to receive comfort from my junk, and I need to be able to receive healing from my stuff. So if I have trauma, which I do, I need to make sure that I'm dealing with that, whether it's definitely with Jesus, but maybe with a counselor, with an accountability, someone in ministry with me, a sister that we can do life with, so that I know that I'm handling it. Because if we don't deal with our own stuff, that stuff is going to like burst out of us in the worst possible way, and it's most likely gonna be directed at the girls that we're working with. And when it comes out, it's ugly. And that's exactly what Olivia was speaking about last night, about how sometimes in church we can do more harm than good when our hearts are so pure and we're in the right place and, we just wanna love you, but it comes out as condemnation because that's the way we treat ourselves. So if I'm legalistic with myself, like, Sam, you screwed up again, like, you got drunk again, like, how dare you, and I'm condemning myself for this thing that I'm battling with, when I go onto the streets and I'm trying to love on these girls and outreach and minister to them, and she's doing drugs and she won't stop, how is my attitude, my heart for myself, the way I love myself is gonna project onto her? So then I'm like, you did, but we just talked yesterday and you did drugs again? Like, I just told you yesterday not to do drugs. How are you doing this? How are you, again, this is the 3rd time this week. Like, and we start to, it becomes legalistic and becomes condemning and angry, and it's like, that's not how Jesus operated. So it's important that we always need to deal with our own stuff. So that's through constant, like, keeping this communication line open. Because as Jesus pours into us, we're not pouring out with our own love, with our own strength. I'm telling you guys, you will burn out in like 5 seconds. like it's impossible to do this in your own strength. And there's some of you maybe who were here yesterday thinking, wow, this is too much. This is too big. This is too heavy. This is too intense. Yes, 100% you are right. And without Jesus and the power of the Holy Spirit being the one operating through us, we can't do this. This is too big. It is too great. We're gonna burn out. 100%. And there's no shame in that. It's just the truth. We can't do this on our own. So the love that we receive is the love that we give. So if I've only received this much love from my Heavenly Father, I'm only gonna be able to give you this much, right? But if I received this much, then there you go. And if I received this much, here, you can have that. Yeah, you're welcome. So you guys see, so the amount of love that I first receive from God, I give. And this is connected to the way I think about God, my view of who he is. Something that we talk about with counseling is our mother-father image. So if I had a bad relationship with my dad, which most of the victims that we will work with are fatherless or deal with abuse or abusive fathers and neglect or things like that, their father image is gonna be so broken. Maybe they were neglected, they didn't have a dad that loved them, or their dad abused them or raped them or all these things. So when you tell them, hey, your heavenly Father loves you, sorry, what? Like, that's not something that they can comprehend. So we can tell them all day, Jesus loves you. The guy, the 30-year-old white man or Middle Eastern man, he loves you. Okay? Like, to a girl that's being raped like 20 times a day by men that are probably in their 30s, I wouldn't want to hear a guy named Jesus who I've never met loves me. That's kind of creepy, and that makes no sense. And I wouldn't know how to receive that. So on a very simple level, it's like, okay, so we need to actually backtrack. So when we start this journey with these girls and these boys, we need to first be the hands and feet of Jesus to them before we try and present the theology of Jesus to them. So the way that works is it's very simple. If we have this going, right, this relationship, then this will flow really well. So if I am in constant communication with God and we're talking and we're doing life together and I'm being forgiven and there's grace and there's love and there's mercy and there's all this awesome stuff, then I know who my Father is and I know who I am in him. So that when I go out onto the street, I'm going to be able to take my identity that I'm rooted in and I'll be free to love you without fear of rejection, without fear of being laughed at, without fear of whatever it is, you know? Because if that girl, and I'm thinking right now of the women in prostitution because they're really sassy, which I love, they're super sassy, but it's awesome. That's how they survive, they're survivors. So they'll come up to you and sometimes they'll run from you, which is great, that's the best. When you come up, hi, can I pray? And they're like, and they like literally they run from you. So there's that, that's awesome. And then there's the other times where they yell at you. They'll like curse in your face and be like, no, why you, don't talk to me, I don't know, you don't know who I am. And they start getting angry. And if you're not secure in your relationship with Christ, and if you don't know who you are, you're gonna probably cry. Because the girl was mean to you and she broke you and all you're doing is, I'm just trying to help and I'm trying to love you and why are you rejecting me? And it's like, so if you're not solid, you won't be free to love. So if I know that all my validation, all my affirmation, all my everything, my affection comes from my Heavenly Father, then when I love you, I'm not dependent on that relationship. I'm dependent on this one, okay? So being the hands and feet, what does that look like? It doesn't have to be some crazy thing. You don't have to be a psychologist. You don't have to be a social worker. You don't have to be a professional. Just be a Christian. Just love. Because when you have that love and you go out, it's like, that's enough. Because remember, this isn't about you. It's about Jesus. And it's about Jesus in you. Preach, Alice. I hear you, girl. So just to give you guys an example, and this is, you'll hear more about like some of the testimonies of the survivors tonight, but there was a girl that I was working with who was a sex trafficking survivor. And we were in communication over email and like WhatsApp because she had seen my blog and my spoken word videos. And she asked me one day, she's like, you know, she emailed me from YouTube and was like, does God really, can he love me? Can he love someone like me? And she shared a little bit of her story, and this was 3 years ago. And I was like, yeah, yes, he loves you so much. Oh my gosh, like, you know, I'm like, my fingers can't type fast enough. And so we started a relationship online over 7,000 miles away. She was in New York and I'm here. And we built this relationship, started discipling her. There were days where she would call me and she'd be like, Sam, so I just slept with a guy for heroin. What do I do? And I'm like, you what? Like, and at first I was like, I'm gonna throw the phone out the window, like, can't do, you know, and I'm like getting angry because I'm like, what are you thinking? Like, what were you thinking? And then Jesus is like, how many times did I pick you back up? How many times did you struggle with porn and I still loved you through that? Oh, okay. Just checking. Carry on. And so every time I would get those phone calls, it's like, how am I gonna respond? And each time Jesus was like humbling me and was like, grace, grace, grace. And so there were days I would get phone calls. There were days that she would tell me that she would block me on Facebook because she didn't want to see my Jesus posts because it was like making her feel guilty. She's like, I can't even see you. I can't even look at your picture. It makes me mad, right? So she would block me and I would like, it's okay. And then about, you know, a couple months later, she'd friend me again and she's like, hey, you know, like super scared I'm gonna reject her. And Jesus is like, all right, there you go. Be like, hey, like, how's it going? How are you? Good. Like she's waiting for the clap, you know, and I'm not gonna give it to her. And then she's like, oh, okay, relationship, okay. And so this past year, when I was home in the States visiting family, she ended up getting out of her situation and moved to Florida, where I'm from. And she was living an hour away, still in a bad situation, but she was living an hour away from where my parents stay. So when I got home in November, she was like, hey, can we meet in person? I would love to meet you. And I'm like, yes, like I would love that, that'd be amazing. So we met up for breakfast, and over breakfast, that was when she first told me she was trafficked. So I knew she was abused, I knew there was drugs, but this was the first time she said, like, Sam, my father trafficked me, my adopted dad trafficked me to Turkey. He was selling me to men, these things were happening. And so we started a different kind of relationship where it was every day. Like now I'm with her in person. Now she's coming to church with me. She's celebrating Christmas with my family. All these things, but it's messy, you guys. And that's like, this is like the point, is that, again, I would get that phone call at 3 a.m. Sam, there's guys at my house. I can't stay here. They're gonna rape me. Can I come sleep over? Meanwhile, I'm in my parents' 2-bedroom condo on a blow-up mattress. So I'm like, yeah, sure, come on over. We'll sleep on the couch. Like, it's fine. So it's already, you know, my life was hectic being home. And I'm getting this phone call, which is very inconvenient and frustrating and hard. And I'm exhausted at 3 in the morning. But what would Jesus do? And so, and again, it's not about Sam. It's like, what would Jesus do? So I'm like, come drive down here. Let's sleep on the couch. It's fine. And she would come over and she would wake up every couple hours with flashbacks or trauma memories. And that was like a continuous thing while I was home. And every time I'm exhausted and I have stuff to do. And this is supposed to be my holiday, my furlough from ministry because I'm home raising money and my ministry's in South Africa and I'm just wanting to hang out with my family. And God's like, nope, I have a job for you. And so it came down to that point of realizing like, okay, this is discipleship. So this is like point number 2, I guess you could say, or point number 1 is that long-term aftercare is long-term. This idea of aftercare and this idea of restoration isn't something that happens in a week. It doesn't even happen in a year, you guys. This is like a lifelong process of discipleship. And that's the only way that this type of ministry is gonna work, is by humbling yourself to the point of saying like, I'm gonna love you the way Jesus loved me, no matter how frustrating you make me and how many times I wanna throw you out of my car right now. Like, no matter what, it's a matter of like, okay, well, if Jesus is gonna love me unconditionally, and if he's gonna have grace for me in all of my stuff and all of my struggles, then I have to have that same grace for you. Because who am I to withhold that when Christ didn't withhold it from me? And it's hard. Like, I'm not gonna try and sugarcoat any of this. It's like one of the most difficult things about this process is that, because especially with the women, because I haven't worked with that many boys, but with the girls, when they come out of that life, and Corinne can also speak to this, there is so much brokenness and there's so much shame, and there's no sense of identity. There's no sense of truth because their mind has been warped and their normal was not normal. You know, being raped every day was normal. So they knew, okay, at 10 p.m., this guy's gonna come in my room and I can expect it and I'll be ready for it. So that was normal. So the second they're in, you know, when this girl, there's a happy ending to the story. We moved her into a safe house. She got saved, she got baptized, she accepted Christ. Praise the Lord, it's amazing. Just to throw that in there so I don't leave you guys like on a low point. She would tell me, she's like, Sam, when we moved her in the safe house, she was like panicking because she didn't know what to expect. And to me, I'm like, girl, you're in a safe house. Like, what are you worried about? Like, it's called a safe house. Like, you're safe. Like, how much more clear can we be? And all she could think of was, well, the last time I was brought to a house that other people lived in, it was a trap house, and there were guys coming in my room every night. And so I'm not thinking of that. I'm like, why don't you trust me? Oh, that's why you don't trust me, because you've been betrayed your whole life, and you've been lied to your whole life. And it's not about, again, it's not about Sam. It's not about me. It's about what you've gone through. And so I need to be understanding, and I need to go out of my way. So if you want to ask me 1,001 times, are you going to reject me? Are you going to run? Do you hate me because of this? Are you disgusted by me? Literally, guys, like 1,000 times. I've that question every day. Are you sure you're not going to, like, are you sure you still love me? Yes. Like, I'm not going anywhere. But you have to walk that out. You can't just say, yeah, I'm not going to go anywhere. And then you, like, go somewhere, right? It has to be like, no, I'm not going to go anywhere. And then drugs come up again. I'm still not going to go anywhere. I slept with this guy. I'm still not going to go anywhere. I'm going to curse you out in the car, and I'm going to try and make you turn around. I'm still not going to go anywhere. It's fine, but I'm locking the doors now. So you guys see, because that's what it's like. It's like dealing with, in some cases, like dealing with the toddler who's throwing a temper tantrum, because they don't know and they're panicked and they're scared and this is new. And so for this girl, being in a house the first night where a guy didn't come into her room, she couldn't sleep because she was waiting for it. She was like, it has to happen. It's going to happen. I can't trust her. It's going to happen. Someone's going to come in. Someone's going to come in. And no one came in. And she didn't know how to process that information. So it took about a month for her to finally sleep a couple hours before she could realize, okay, nobody's actually going to come in my room. And that's after over 10 years of being trafficked from when she was 7. So you guys see, it was her life. That was all she knew. And this story, this is, again, Corinne can speak to this. This story isn't rare. This is like, we hear this all the time. This is like normal. It's like, oh, you're raped? Oh, okay. Like that's, and it's not that we're minimizing it. It's just that we're used to it. It's like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. I'm not shocked by that. I'm not disgusted by you. I'm not going to reject you. I'm not going to run. I hear you. It makes sense. And so you start to develop this understanding, and as you walk through it, I don't want to say you become numb, but you almost become, it's like the Lord like doubles up your armor. So it becomes about like, I'm not like, oh, you were raped, oh, okay. And it like doesn't mean anything, because it does. It means everything. That's everything. But in a way, it's like he gives you this extra protection of like, okay, I'm going to put this on top of you. It's like a cloak. So when you go up to these girls, that stuff almost bounces off of you. It's like, it's not going to seep into your soul and destroy you. It's you're going to hear it. You're going to have compassion the same way Jesus had compassion, and he wept over things and he hurt over things, but it's not going to break you down, and it's not going to define you, and you're going to see that, and you're still going to be able to love them even though all that stuff happened. It's not going to blind you. So that's something that is amazing, but you have to have this. You have to have this, because once this goes away and you try and do it on your own, I'm telling you guys, it's going to be overwhelming. And to speak from a place of honesty, because it can be easy for me to come up here and speak all these wonderful things, and you guys are like, wow, Sam, like, no, like, while I was home and I was dealing with this girl, the night I dropped her off at the safe house, I slept over there, and I was exhausted. I was shattered. The next day when I left her there for the first time, and I was driving home, and on the way home, I had a panic attack. And it was like, I've never had a panic attack before. Like, I'm pretty like, tough, like, that's just not me. I don't do that. And so I'm the eldest child in my family, so I gotta be strong for everybody. But I had a panic attack, and I started and I didn't know where it was coming from. Like, nothing, I was listening to worship music, like, and I'm like, yeah, jamming, and all of a sudden I feel like my heart beats faster, and I'm like, and I start hyperventilating, and I start bawling my eyes out, and I cannot stop crying. Like, I had to pull over. So I'm in my car, and I had to pull over. Luckily, by the grace of God, I have an amazing counselor, biblical counselor, who works with sex trafficking survivors and with other sex trafficking workers like us, caregivers. So he counsels the caregivers, and he counsels the caregivers to counsel the counselors. So it's amazing. And so I called him, and I'm like, dude, I'm having a panic attack. Like, what do I do? What do I do? And he's like, okay, we're going to walk through this. And the same grace that Jesus showed me, and the same grace that I had to show Callie, my counselor was able to show me in that moment. And it was like this humbling thing of, this is what it's about. There was no judgment of, Sam, how could you have a panic attack? You obviously are not praying enough. Like, there was none of that. It wasn't like, you're doing this wrong, you're messing up. There was none of that. It was just, okay, this is hard. This makes sense. Let's walk through this together. Let me pray for you. Can you walk somewhere? Can we walk, like, get on your foot, like, get out of the car and just take a walk. Let's talk this out. And through that, he was able to journey with me, and I was able to get back to my, okay, Jesus is sovereign. God is in control. This is hard, but it's okay. And it's okay to struggle. It's okay to go home and cry. It's okay to leave outreach and leave the streets after talking to these women and just sit in your car and be mad for a while. There's nothing wrong with that. It's about being honest with ourselves, honest with God, and honest with each other, because it's through the realness of ministry that stuff happens. And it's through the realness of ministry that we grow and that God is glorified and uses it, because when we're transparent and vulnerable, that's when freedom happens. So when a girl sees us being real and honest and vulnerable, she feels the freedom to do the same without judgment, without shame, without condemnation. And that's what we get wrong a lot. Again, Olivia talked on it in the church. We struggle with that because we want to be so good, because we love Jesus so much. But it becomes about performance and not about the process. So I just want to speak that. Corinne, I would love if you would touch on just like practically with the drop-in center and the safe house, like practically what that looks like in terms of ministry on like a day-to-day basis. If you could just touch on that a little bit so they could see. Yeah.
Right, I think so. What Sam has actually been saying here, and that is that we've got to love the hell out of them. How does that sound? You've got to love the hell out of them, and that's where we are, in life. But it's not only for trafficked victims and for prostitutes, it's for each other. Because I've got a bit of hell in me still until the day Jesus comes. And I'm going to need that love, that you to love that hell out of me. And the church situation is a wonderful place to bring someone in that Sam has been talking about, because you can't manage this on your own. Some of us are gifted in recruiting. Sam is an excellent recruiter. Other people are majoring on shepherding and taking someone's hand and walking with somebody. And you've got grace and patience specifically gifted to you from God. It's like the body. We need each other. And that's something which I think is very valuable, to have a safe house, which Sam was referring to have a counselor who could help her when she was having her panic attack, So it's teamwork. And remember that scripture I referred to this morning, where I said, it's in Micah 5, verse 1. It says, gather yourselves in troops, O daughter of troops. It's an army, you know. We're in warfare here. And the wonderful thing about us in human trafficking is to know that there's a church virtually on every block, in every township, and in every neighborhood. Isn't that amazing? So we are busy, by the grace of God, mobilizing the Church of Jesus Christ to get on board, because God has mandated the church to take care of the widow and the orphan and the stranger. Now, I'm just carrying on and preaching further here. I'm supposed to talk about safe houses and practical work, but I just want to sum it up and bring it down to the ground, hey? And say that the greatest thing for me in the safe house we started in Stellenbosch was to have a cell group on a Wednesday. You know, you had the manager there, you had the counselors, you had the skills developers, you had the social worker, and all those people that are paid people that come and do the safe house thing when you have a real proper safe house. But the people that really make the impact in the changed lives is you and me. It's like having a cell group on a Wednesday evening and a church taking ownership, same for a safe house. I'm just using it as an example, which was very valuable to me when I was involved with the safe house in Stellenbosch. It was very hard to get a church on board, can I tell you, to get the vision and grab the vision for these beautiful daughters of Zion. But to have a cell group on a Wednesday evening, because then you don't talk like maintenance and children's stuff and deep psychological, you know, what happened in your childhood, that the social worker deals with, that the skills developer teaches the skills. You come and sit and you just show them a lovely video and you share the word and you pray for their needs and you lead them to Jesus. And God and them baptized these girls in the bath there at the safe house in Stellenbosch, you know. And I used to bring them to church on Sundays. And I remember this beautiful Zimbabwean 15-year-old, which was actually a 21-year-old, but anyway, she had this desire to sing in church. Now we're sitting there in Shofar Stellenbosch. It's 1,000 students sometimes, 500 students, and she wanted to sing in church. And we let her sing in church. She's ministered to us in song one day just before she left back for Zimbabwe. And she joined a band there in her church in Harare, and her life was changed. So, it's to meet that need, her desire. And she sang beautifully with a whole band, in church. This is the relationship that a safe house and we at Stop need with you. Is to come and lift up that person, but be body ministry. Because we do get tired, and you do get moodless. And so in safe house establishment is not a joke. If you have a desire to start a safe house, and God is burning it in you, you cannot do it without a church. You cannot do it without a family in Christ. You cannot do it without having a community with you to run this place. It's community. It's raising people in Christ. So some of you sitting here may say, but God has told me I must start a safe house. If that is what God has done, you need to share that vision with your pastor and his wife and the leadership here, and you need to gather a team of people around you who have got the similar vision, and who says, I'll do that. You need a house mom. But these must be godly people. Do you understand? Not nie salaristrekkers nie. Godly people with a calling upon their lives that says, I'll work as a volunteer if there's no money, but I'm coming to do this for you. Because the Safe House Mom has got a special role. We've got a whole training on that, and we've got training manuals on what is the role of a safe house, what's the role of a manager. So we're not going into that today. I'm just talking about the principle of raising and healing a broken person. Then the other thing is, Sam was talking about one lady. We have, as I said to you this morning, we have a drop-in center there in Zanin because we didn't get a safe house yet. And it's been a frustration for me because I know if I can get people into a safe house, then you can really work with them because you've got rules, you've got them behind bars, you've got them behind electric fences. They don't go back to the drug holes. Because our girls in Vileli, there, in Zanin, they are living in the most sordid hostels with Nigerian drug peddlers and traffickers. And we minister to them, bringing them through, we've baptized them, we're discipling them, they're learning skills and everything. But every night they go back into that hellhole where people are drugging, where people are sleeping around. Their previous clients are wanting to kick the doors down. One of our girls called Peace had to run in the middle of the night, 4 o'clock in the morning, to the police station to hide in the trauma room because this guy was wanting to rape her. Because she was an old client. You know, when you are a prosy and someone's knocking the door down and he's drunk, you know you're going to get his purse and take a few bucks out that. Ach, laat hom maar rape. Verstaan jy? But when you've been redeemed, when you're walking with God, and when you've made a pledge to the team that you're out of there, then it's a different ball game. So ideally, it is ideal if you're working with the street girls to have a place of safety for them, you know, where they can be. But Sam, do you want to add something? Are you okay? So what I want to say in that is that a drop-in center is a lovely thing because it's manageable, because it's a safe house is full-time, eh? That's heavy duty. But a drop-in center is a nice place to start. We started in the CBD area, you know, there of Zanin. We had coffee and we got Straatwerk to help us to just to get going, you know, because Straatwerk, 1964, when did they start? You mean those are the people who are running with big tires, eh? They're not running with little things. So I'm on with Madri, Skyping and saying, Madri, this has happened now. Nee, jessie, nou suk moet loos. Madri, hoe moet ons nou maak? And you know, let these people help you and guide you. They're the God girls, you know, that are on the planet who have invented the wheel. So we've got a lot of help from them, and we're really walking with their program, with their rehab, and with everything they're doing at Straatwerk. So you have somebody here who can come and do your training on how to do a drop-in and how to handle the girls who are exiting. But what I would like to say in that is that a drop-in center, if that is in your heart, if you've got a street evangelism call upon you, you know, you love rescue, jy hou daarvan om my girls te gryp op die strate van die Johns af, jy weet, and to bring them in, and to give them coffee, and to love them, and to encourage them to do the skills training. We started with skills training because we didn't have a safe house. We said we got to get them trained. And what is amazing is to see that in the hope, God's blessing is upon it. God's blessing is upon us. And you are working a rehab. You are working with exactly what Sam was saying. It's not an easy road. But if you can bring them to a church on a Sunday morning and prepare the church people for these loved ones. Ja, hulle gaan nou en dan vir iemand 'n geldjie vra. Like the guys that wait there. You know, they'll take chances on you. You just have to get measures in place to you know, to say, nee, maar ek het vir jou 'n bietjie groente. I've got some veggies for you. I've got some supplies for you. I'm not giving you money, but I'm going to buy you some food. So we have a food processing. We give them airtime money, and we give them, and the church, they come on Sunday mornings and they just love the worship, and they're growing by grace, and they're growing in God's grace. But stickability and accountability and faithfulness. Your yes is yes and your no is no. And when you decide to do something like that, it's like every Wednesday. You get me? It's like every Tuesday, everything, skills development, training these girls. So if this is your call, a church's call, you know, you have people with different talents. The one can crochet. The one can do needlework. The one is fantastic with pottery. The one can give cooking classes to these girls. Teach them how to be a good domestic. Do you understand? To clean houses. Give them a certificate and say, you know, she's gone through this training. She's going to be a fantastic domestic worker. And this and this and this and this. Or like nails and feet, if you're a beautician, say you'll train up one of them, you know, to become a beautician, to do nails and give a little certificate. We're trying to get Isaiah, you know, from Stellenbosch, to come on board with us. They're still humming and hawing, but we're in a relationship with them and they're thinking about it. So you know, hair. You know, some people want to do hair. It costs 2,000 rand to get you trained with proper braiding, you know, and hair extensions and stuff. But you know what? The church says, okay, we're going to back up this girl to do that. Then she can go back to a rural town where her children are looking after their granny in vulnerable positions, and she can start a little spaza there, or in a Wendy house, start doing hair. So what I want to say, thanks, is that this is what we're doing presently. There's a project at the moment that an American company, long-term pads, because girls go a third of the year. Some girls sit at home in rural areas because they haven't got money for disposable sanitary towels. So now we've been chosen as one of the, what do they call us? Industries or whatever, where we are going to be making these things, and we're going to for training our girls. So whatever comes your way, God just opens doors. You know, He's so gracious in terms of this. But I just want to tell you one story about Sam, not Sam. What's her name? Peace. And then I'm going to give back to Sam, and she's going to round up for us. But what I want to say in that is that God's blessing, as I said this morning, is behind you as a church if you start doing these things. And you bring the people in. There are people at church who can love them and care for them. And there are going to be many coming in. And they're going to be trained and helped and redeemed by God's grace. So Percy, you know, Percy is a fighter. She's got this rasta hair. She's dark and she's a vendor, you weet. And she's got one slip, one knit one, and she fights for survival. So we rebaptized her Peace. So Percy's very light, very lig geraak, jy weet, sy raak baie gou kwaad. And apparently I said one thing once. She's still on the streets every Wednesday evening, you know. So, and then there's this reason, and then there's that excuse. But anyway, so every time I pick her up for coffee on a Wednesday evening, you know, because I always say to them, you cannot do skills development if you haven't made a decision. You've got 6 weeks to decide. You can still do what you do for 6 weeks, but after that, you sign under the dotted line that you're exiting and we're moving forward. You've got to have boundaries with these girls. So this is what we do. But she was still in that phase, you know. So every Wednesday evening, I always pick them. I say, drop in. You come every Wednesday evening forever. I will love you. Daai plekkie is jou plekkie, but not skills development, unless you decide to walk the line. So there are rules, and we will help you with that. We're going to be writing a lovely manual on how to do this, and it's great and it's fun. Ons het die VLE ingetrek om hulle te leer hekel. Verstaan jy? Almal kan saamwerk. It's so glorious. Die ou tannies en die jonk en die oud. But anyway, and they always smell gorgeous. You know, they're soliciting. They've got to be well groomed. They're beautiful girls, hey? And they're risk takers. Somebody who jumps into a guy's car every night, not knowing whether she's going to come out alive, maimed, dead, HIV, or pregnant. That's a girl with she's a chance taker, eh? Adventurer. So we've got some strong women in our midst. So Peace, this is my last story, Sam. So Peace, Percy, she's angry with me because I apparently said something about her, which I can't remember, but anyway, it doesn't matter. So I'm riding along, picking up the girls at night, and I see this lonely figure sitting there, you know. So I drive up and I curb crawl, you know. So I'm just curb crawling and I'm stopping there. And I said, hi, Peace. She says, you don't talk to me. And within 5 seconds, there was 5 guys that had just come out of the darkness because she was screaming, eh? And they just sat around her. And I just got out the car and I said to her, Peace, I'm sorry for what I said. I don't know what I said, but I'm sorry for what I've said. Forgive me, please, but you are too important to me. The love that God has given us for each other, I'm never going to leave you. I love you. We're going to walk this walk. Please come to Skills tomorrow morning, and we talk this thing out. And these guys were sitting there, but people, it was darkness, you know. The darkness was darker than the night that we were sitting in, the darkness. And I looked around, and these guys were looking at me, but, you know, in so much darkness and so much evil that it's tangible, you know. And I just said, guys, are you hungry? Because we had some bread in the car, you know. And they just looked at me. They didn't even answer. Then I start singing in Sotho, because that's my cue, you know. Didn't sing with me. They were from Nigeria, from Ghana, from Zimbabwe. So then I immediately knew what I had to do with her. And I just fished those breads out the car and just handed them the bread. And I said, let's take hands and pray. I prayed for these men. And Peace got her peace back. And she was there the next morning. And she said to me, Corinne, do you know in what danger you were last night? I said, I actually didn't. But I know that God has angelic forces around me, that I'm safe in Him. But I will talk tomorrow morning during the church service about being slop, Yvette, and not being vigilant, because that's something that happened with us there. But what I want to say to you in that is that peace restored and returned. And she fights a lot. But when she opens her mouth to speak, God redeems everybody around her. And she was also baptized by God's grace.
Thanks, Corinne. Yeah, so just to close up, guys, there's just a couple of points that I just kind of want to throw out there. And one of them is, and this is probably one of the most important ones to remember, is that we use the term rescue a lot, and we say that we rescue, but ultimately we know, we're not the one, it's not us. Jesus is the rescuer. And that takes a lot of pressure off of us to do the rescuing, right? Because that can be exhausting, it can be frustrating. But when we know that Jesus is the one that rescues and we're only called to love, that takes all the weight off of us and it puts it all back on God, and it frees us up to serve and love. And no matter what the outcome is, whether it's someone that gets saved and comes out of their life and stays out, or if it's a girl who comes out and goes back, it's not on us. Does that make sense? So that burden, that weight isn't for us to carry, it's for Jesus. We just keep surrendering it to Him. The other thing is that it's important to remember that these people we work with are people. They're not projects. And it's so easy for us in ministry to see them as projects, as names on a list that we want to check off and say, okay, got her, check. Okay, she's saved, check. She got a job, check. But it's not about that. These are people. And I think sometimes we look at them as less than that. But in Scripture, when we look at the people that Jesus loved, He treated the less than as greater than. And so when we look at these girls, something that MECAT started, the MECAT conference, it stands for Media Campaign Against Human Trafficking. When they do outreach and they go to the women on the street, they don't use the word prostitute. So they don't call them, we're going to go talk to the prostitutes. They say, we're going to go speak to the treasures. We're going to go do a treasure outreach. We're going to minister to the treasures. I saw a treasure the other day, and we had a great conversation. So just by changing the word, it changes your mindset. So now when I look at this girl and I say, the prostitute, it's like prostitute. When you say it, it's like your face. It's like prostitute. Bleh. It's not nice. But when I look at it, I say treasure. It's like, whoa. Something just the angels are singing and it's beautiful. It's a whole different perspective. So when we go in with that mindset, before we even get there, as we're praying, as we're prepping, as we're thinking about taking these steps into ministry, when we change our mindset to see victims as victors and victims as survivors and victims as treasures, the way that we love them is going to look different, because we're going to be loving them through the eyes of Christ rather than through our own brokenness, because we're looking through eyes of sinful, fleshly imperfectness. But when Jesus sees us, when He sees me, He sees a treasure. When He sees these girls, He sees a treasure. There's no difference. We're loved the same. I'm not loved any more than them because I'm serving in ministry. They're not loved any less than me because they're on the streets. So when we have that mind change, that perspective change, it can rock the entire, it can rock the world. It can rock everything. So that's one of our most powerful tools. Our most powerful weapon is the love of Christ that we can give. So if you have nothing else, give that. And on that note, when Corinne mentioned community, we talked a little bit about this earlier with awareness, is that every single one of us in this room has different talents and gifts and passions and callings. Not every single person is called to open a safe house, and not every single person is called to do public speaking in schools. And we all have different niches, different areas where God wants us to work. And none is less important than the other, if that makes sense. So if you're called to be a behind-the-scenes prayer warrior, that is just as important as someone who's at Straatvik on the street talking to the girl face-to-face. It's the same. It's the same. Every single part of the body is valuable. If my arm got cut off, I would be struggling. If my toe got cut off, I would still be struggling. It may not look as bad, but trust me, it's going to be painful when I walk. So when we think about that, it's every single part of the body is important. So that's between you and God. So you take that time and pray and say, Lord, you made me exactly the way that I am for a reason. My voice, the way I look, the way I talk, my culture, everything about me, my age, what I love, what I'm gifted in, you made me that way for a reason. What do you want me to do with it? How can I glorify you in the best way with what I have? Because this is all I have, and this has to be enough. Don't try and be someone else and say, but Lord, I don't have the money to open a safe house. I'm not married, or I can't do this. It doesn't matter. What do you have? take what you have and use that. And when Jesus sees you use that, he's looking at you and he's like, yes, my girl, go for it. That's it right there. So I just want to encourage you that every single one of us is different, and you guys have to don't let someone else tell you what to do. You got to go to God and say, okay, Lord, where do you want me? Where will you have me? Where can you use me for the greatest glory and to be the most efficient and to create the most change? And then you take that to God, and then when he answers you, because he will, then you run. You start running after that. Whatever it is, run.